Welcome to the OpsCast episode 5. Let me make sure that everything is working properly. But yeah, we're just getting set to go here in a couple minutes, letting everyone get settled in. Making sure that everything's working, making sure the audio's all good. If you guys have any questions initially before we get started here, we can go ahead and answer those. But yeah, welcome to the stream, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, we're coming here on the hour mark.
Hold on, Karma.
What's up? Okay.
Karma, I'm still trying to work on my internet connection.
All right,
Hold
no
on.
problem, no problem. But we'll get started here momentarily. Coming up on the hour mark. Just hoping everyone had a great Tuesday. I am tired as all hell. I'm joined here with Creeping and Dr. Kamikaze as well as Schmitty from the ops staff. We'll go into a more formal introduction in a second here when we get started. But today we're going to be talking about Alpha 9 preview and confirmed features and how that's going to affect the meta. So we'll get started here momentarily, everyone. Okay, and I think we're good to go. I think everything's lined up here. We're all settled in. All right, so welcome everyone. This is Karmakut here from Squad Ops, the Squad Ops director. I'm joined by Creeping and Dr. Kamikaze and Schmitty. All three are dedicated staff members of Squad Ops, and they've been helping us, host the ops and getting everything settled, and really dedicated staff that we have here at Squad Ops, and we're really glad that they could come out and join us. Today we're going to be doing some Alpha 9 kind of impressions of the preview. We're also going to be talking about, how it's going to affect Squad and Squad Ops, and just our general impressions over the patch and how we think it's going to change the meta in the game. So with that being said, we'll go through here and we'll talk. I'll let everyone talk a little bit about themselves. I know Schmitty has a little technical difficulties now. I think he's fixing it right now. But yeah, let's start off with Creeping. Creeping, what do you want to say about yourself?
All right. My name is Creeping. I am currently a member of the admin team here at Squad Ops. I help administrate the servers. I've been with Squad Ops for about 8 or 9 months now. And I've been playing Squad since the pre-alpha back in September of 2015, I think it was. Yeah, September 2015.
Awesome. Kamikaze?
I am a web dev over here at at Squad Ops. I get to work on some really cool things. Cool things are always in the pipeline over here. I've been with Squad Ops for about 6 months. And then been playing Squad just a little bit longer than that, probably 9 months. So just a little while after the Steam release.
Awesome. Schmitty, are you here? Is your mic working?
I am.
Awesome. Fantastic. Schmitty, why don't you say a little bit about yourself?
I am Schmitty. I'm part of the admin team. I have been playing Squad since early October, late September of 2016.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, we've been around for a while. There's a lot of the guys here at Squad Ops have been dedicated Squad players for quite some time. And even these three right here that I have with me, Creeping, Kamikaze, and Schmitty, have been with Squad Ops for quite some time now as well. I think, from quite a while ago. Creeping has been with us for a while, and I know Kamikaze's been with us for a couple patches, and so is Schmitty. So we'll get some great insight here as to how they feel about certain changes, certain additions to Squad that's being implemented, and we'll start right away. So, of course, the biggest thing here that we're going to be talking about are the new vehicles. A lot of juicy new vehicles coming to Squad. Yeah, so I think the biggest one being the 30mm cannon for militia and Russia. What do you guys think? How do you think this 30mm cannon is going to affect how squad gameplay is played, both in vanilla squad and in squad op?
I mean, to start off with just like vanilla gameplay, the sound of that 30mm cannon, they started it off on the Alpha 9 preview article with that sound because it's such a hype sound. Hearing that like thunk 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 on the battlefield is going to be like crazy, knowing that is right around the corner and you need to hide. I think it's going to be huge for gameplay, especially from that feel standpoint.
I mean,
definitely.
Just look at that preview video again. Just being near that thing, like the ground shaking, it's going to be intense. It's going to bring just some completely new dynamics, I think.
Yeah, especially for the way the like that is such a vehicle killer as well. It's going to make it so that, in previous patches, you could have multiple like Dishka techies could like try and wolf pack down a BTR that's just armed with the smaller cannon, but having like a 30mm, if that's only going to take like a couple hits to take down a techie, it's going to be a much more dangerous pursuit to try and do that.
Definitely. There's a new top dog in squad. It used to be the BTR, now it's a 30mm cannon in MLTVs or MTLBs. Schmitty, what do you think of the new 30mm?
I feel like it'll cause some unbalanced problems with the US, mainly because the US don't have anything really to counter it but the striker.
Well, I think it'll just change how the US have to play, honestly. I mean, so in a lot of the past patches and things like that, you'd get games where the US only need to bring one lat because, oh great, some techies. Who cares? I'm playing militia and there's not dangerous at all. But now you're gonna need to bring lats every time you go out. It's just gonna reduce the other type of specialist kits you get, and it'll be interesting. I think it's gonna have just change how the US plays. I don't think they'll necessarily be at a disadvantage.
That's a great point to pull up, though, is we can just talk about this right now, is the addition of HAT, of heavier anti-tank, not being added to US. Now, I think this is an interesting balance change because, as we said, US didn't really get that big of a vehicle this patch. We have a striker with a 50 cal going up against 30mm cannons for both the militia and Russia, and they don't get HAT. So it's going to be interesting to see, if US is going to be able to stand toe-to-toe with these assets, or if it really is going to change how US approaches, these vehicles on the field.
I think that's the huge point, is that until we can see if you put a striker and a 30mm, MTLB, or the 30mm BTR-82, we have to see what a striker can do to those things one-on-one in like an open field. And once we can see that, I think that'll determine how like a new meta forms as to squad compositions, which I think is another huge point, is that as you were saying earlier, the squad compositions now have to be, if you are playing against Russia, you are playing against, possibly militia, depending on what assets they get on that given layer. Like you have to bring two lats to the table if you don't have the access to the HAT kit. And I think it can limit what other kits and what other roles a squad can play, because of you can only have 3 specialist kits running around at any given time. I think it because of the addition of these heavier assets, you're even more kind of pushing to the side the marksman role, because in almost every single situation now, it's going to be more important to have lats in your squad, because you could possibly have this heavy asset just roll onto you and wipe your squad if you're not able to counter it.
As if the marksman wasn't already pushed aside enough. You want to push it aside
right?
even further. I'm not, I don't advocate for the marksman, but it's a role that is already pushed aside, and now it's almost not required. until we see what the layers turn out, what vehicles are on each layer.
Exactly, and I think the marksman role does get a lot of hate, and I think that with the addition of being able to possibly lock squads in the future or be able to determine your squad size, being able to say like, look, we are going to be a scout squad. There's only going to be like 3 of us. We're all going to have binocs, or we're all going to have some sort of optic. We're not going to be capturing flags. We're just going to be trying to scout. Like, we're going to be fob hunting, or we're going to be trying to, figure out where the enemy is at, not really engaging them. I think that's when you'll see the marksman come into a prominent role where it can do it can do what it's supposed to do, instead of just being what most squad leaders count as like it's just a weight dragging the squad down sometimes.
Right. One of the things I'm interested to see if the crows are going to be an effective counter to the 30mm cannons, whether that distance and that range and the crows, because we've seen it happen now where crows are able to completely lay waste to vehicles and infantry if they're put in a proper position. So maybe these 30mm cannons aren't going to be too overpowered with crows. Maybe there'll be more crows vehicles on certain layers. But it's still cause for concern. I mean, not having a 30mm cannon or anything, or hat or anything to deal with these opposing factions, militia and Russia, with these heavier assets as US, it's definitely going to change something.
How about this real quick? Let's look at the ticket costs of these big cannons here. You got 25 tickets for the MTLB variant and 40 tickets for the BTR variant. So even if they do bring them out, you lose a couple of those, it's game over. And you got 10 minutes before you get a new one on the BTR. So, they'll change the game, but one thing that everybody has to realize, you have to be super careful with these things. Can't be rushing them like these old vehicles.
Oh, that brings me back to when V8 finally released, and like vehicles are just starting to get used, and you just saw BTRs just blowing up over and over again, and the game would end in 10 minutes.
Just drive straight to Mode Xi or something like that, and just sit there and there goes another one.
Yeah,
piling up on the road.
I remember points in that, like when that patch first dropped and nobody really knew how to use these vehicles, that I remember people talking in all chat and just being like, look, we're not using strikers for the rest of the game. Like, it's too big of a ticket loss, and you guys just keep dying in them.
Or flipping.
Or flipping. That's also something. But so we're getting this N-wheel system and this tracked vehicle system that was talked about in the January recap. And one of the things that was talked about in it was the fact that vehicles are going to feel better to drive. I would wonder if that's going to include maybe some of the hitboxes for rocks or trees, or that sort of stuff that can tend to trip up players who aren't used to driving those vehicles.
Well, as well, we also get that low gear, which is going to be nice. Trying to go uphill in one of those transport trucks or something right now is such a pain.
Oh yeah,
so slow. So maybe we'll get some better uphill movement.
Yeah, I mean, the current speed trying to go uphill can sometimes double the amount of time it would take to do a Logi run. And with, the new changes to fobs coming, I can completely see that the Logi runs are going to need to happen faster.
We should definitely touch on those changes on fobs.
Yeah, I still want to go over a couple of these vehicles here, because one of the ones that really sticks out to me is the BRDM Scout Car. I like how it's a 3-man vehicle, so it's like equivalent to a techie, but you have like that commander role, and you have that a much more armored vehicle. So I think it's gonna be really interesting to see if really coordinated fire teams are gonna be able to use this vehicle effectively and zip around the map, giving out really fast and effective fire support. Simply because the technical is like really flimsy, you kind of have to be set up with it already, and in good cover, and you can't really use a technical as a gun truck offensively because you'll get shot out pretty fast. I'm interested to see like if you know, you're gonna be in a firefight and you call for a BRDM, and a BRDM scout car just fucking comes up on your right and just starts laying down fire, and it can do that because it's armored and it's fast, and I want to see really effective 3-man teams. Just I can really see that, you know, maneuverability and that firepower being used throughout the entire map, and I think that's really exciting to me, simply because I'm really excited for the commander role in the vehicle. I could totally see myself just sitting in the vehicle with the periscope, just ordering the car around and just like doing massive amounts of work with that coordination that periscope will have.
If I understand it correctly, that's a 360 view in that periscope, right?
I'm not sure. I actually don't know, but I would assume, hopefully.
I think it's, yep. Oh, there it is in the recap, or in the preview. I'm sorry, found it. It is a 360 view.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
Even better.
I think that's gonna be a game changer.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that makes it really rough currently on vehicles, and I mean, obviously the BRDM is the only one that's going to have sort of a counter to that, is that there's often this disconnect between what the gunner can see and what the driver can see. And if the gunner is trying to engage a target, he is like the blinders go up, and you're engaging that target, and you're not looking around, you're not trying to keep, you know, any sort of security around the vehicle. And I think in addition to the commander being able to point out targets, when you are being engaged, the commander can also provide that security around the vehicle of being able to look and like, oh, there's a hat behind us, like we need to move now, or like that sort of stuff that can just really keep you much safer in that sort of vehicle.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well,
Schmitty, any thoughts? Did we lose Schmitty? Some more technical difficulties, perhaps.
we may have.
Can you guys hear me?
There you go.
Hey.
Not really.
What do you think about the motorbike, Schmitty? What do you think about the motorcycles? Tell me.
They're gonna be light and fast. They're gonna get like marksmen where they need to be pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how fast those things can actually go.
Going off mobility and how fast they go. Let's just talk about how fast the insurgents as a faction are going to be with both their new BRDM, which is pretty quick, and the motorbike. So they'll be able to fly across maps. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's cool to see the insurgents getting some heavier stuff. Especially they also get an MTLB, so that was really interesting to see. They got an MTLB and a BRDM. I think that's pretty cool because you know the insurgents and militia always felt a little weaker. Obviously, for good reason, right? You're going up against conventional forces. You know, U.S. has those crows and Russia has the BTRs. But now with this patch, it feels kind of flipped almost. I mean, Russia's still getting, you know, the most vehicles, so which is, you know, I guess okay. But now militia,
there's that American bias coming.
Yeah. But now militia is like
militia is going to be tied with Russia in vehicles.
Yeah, militia got a lot of stuff. They got 3 vehicles. They got a BRDM, an MTLB, and a 30mm MTLB as well.
Oh, you forgot one thing.
Oh, and the hats? What else?
No, they also get a BTR of themselves. There's a take a look at this picture right here, right in the preview.
Interesting.
They get their own. It's a non 30.
That's true. I see that right now.
You're right. So the I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the Russians are upgrading to a BTR 82, while the militia are going to get the BTR 80s.
Oh,
and the
wow.
82 is supposed to be heavier armored. So that kind of brings us back to, I wonder how the Crows is going to stand up to a heavier armored BTR that's also firing 30 mil.
Yep, I definitely think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, militia has gotten a fairly strong increase as a faction in this upcoming patch. You'll have to fight them completely differently if they
Oh, yeah.
utilize their assets correctly.
Militia used to be the underdog, and now I think they're pretty strong, like on
They're
par
gonna-
with US at
They're
least.
going to be as strong as Russia, at least.
So I think it's also so we're tend to be, I think right now, painting a less than optimistic light about the way that militia and Russia keep getting vehicles. And I mean, the Striker is awesome for the US and stuff. Like, we understand how development works, and we understand that, you know, a lot of the vehicles are they go to multiple factions. When you design a Russian BTR, it makes sense that militia gets them, you know. And so we understand that because of the way like Americans build their vehicles, and they don't get like stolen by militias around the world, that, you know, when you're designing a vehicle for the American faction, that it's only going to that one faction. So if you can design a vehicle for multiple factions, that could be where a priority goes.
Yeah, and once again, we're in early access, so there's
100%. We're in early access. We understand.
Yeah. We understand. Yeah, things will come with time. Everything will get fleshed out. It's just, you know, we're just talking about the current state of the game, and we understand that this is not the end point of Squad, obviously.
Yes, 100%.
All right. I think does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about vehicle-wise?
I would like to talk about the motorbikes a little bit more.
I agree.
Yeah, I think we only touched on them, but I think that I'm wondering. So I think that they're going to be. They have the possibility of being a major game changer, or they have the possibility of being everybody thinks they're going to be a game changer and then they're not. So here's my. I have two concerns with the motorbike right now as far as like vanilla squad play is concerned. So number one, the time to 60 kilometers per hour is 7 seconds. That's what's listed in the video. That feels slow. Like, I don't think bikes are going to be as zippy as everybody thinks they are. Which I think I don't think they're going to provide as much mobility as people think they will. Second off, it is so easy to shoot somebody off of a bike.
It's easy
like-
enough with the technical. Now imagine a completely open target.
Exactly. Like, it's going to be so easy to shoot somebody off of a bike. But that being said, I think that there's a lot of interesting gameplay possibilities open to the bike, which is you can hide it in a small alleyway. And because I think...
Well, yeah, you can...
Can you fit two people on this bike? I think
you can.
I believe
Yeah.
you showed video with two people.
I would love to know if you can fire a gun when you're in the passenger seat of the bike.
I don't
like
know
if you're
that.
on the back.
I do not think that is going to be a thing yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a thing. I think it would be super cool if it was. But if it wasn't, you still have the possibility of, we're going to hide the hat in an alleyway. We're going to wait for that BTR, that striker, to go down the road. He's going to hit it with the hat, and he's going to jump on the bike where his buddy's already got the thing running and ready to go, and then they zip off.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
Like that sort of hit and run tactics become like real possibilities now, because the technical used to, like, you could only hide it on a road. You couldn't really fit down most of the alleys. But since you can do that with a motorbike that has like that really small profile, I think that it provides a lot more of those opportunities for the insurgent faction to really be the unconventional force that it's meant to be.
Now, here's a question about the motorbike. Wonder what its sound profile is going to be like. Is it going to be as loud as these technicals, or is it going to be a little bit quieter? Am I going to be able to? Am I going to be able to go around the flanks and, with one guy and drop a rally? Am I going to be able to get across the map really without being heard or being,
Yeah, I mean, I think I would imagine it's got a lower sound pro. Maybe not, but yeah, it might be pretty loud actually.
Are we going to hear like a mosquito off in the distance, and you're like, "Oh, there's a bike off to our south"?
I could totally see it though. But here's to hoping that it's at least a little bit quieter, because it is kind of an infiltration, or as you say, or as you said, creeping, a like a raiding type thing, or a raiding vehicle. I would be using it to try to infiltrate behind lines as a squad leader, 'cause that's what I normally play. But it'll be interesting to see how it changes that. We'll see how effective it is if enemies aren't finding them. That's the key.
Awesome. All right, so I think at this point we could move on to the next major change in this patch. That being the halves units for the fobs. So for those of you that don't know, with A9, fobs will now require a hab unit to be built and constructed before the team can spawn on that fob, thus removing the cheeky "let's drop a fob, reinforce it, everyone can spawn on it now." So this is I feel like it's gonna slow down the game personally, and I'm all for that. I'm all for making fobs more relevant, bigger targets, actual side objectives, rather than just alternate spawn points. So I feel like less quantity, more quantity, less quantity, more quality fobs are going to be a thing with V9, considering because it's going to take a lot of resources to get multiple hab units up. It's going to make more sense to heavily invest in a couple key fob locations.
I think I read it somewhere, and it was a developer, but I'm not entirely sure. I believe they said that they're trying to make fobs actual objectives. You know, they went from being, that's an objective, we can take out that fob. But with the habs, it's gonna be a point you want to defend, and it's gonna be actually, I think it's gonna change the fact that squads are gonna want to defend more often. Honestly, with a hab, because once you get one set up, you're gonna need some guys there to make sure you're always manning it, make sure someone doesn't come along and take it. Generally, I think that it's going to change the location of fobs as well.
Absolutely. I think fobs are only going to be placed in defendable points now. Not like actual flags on maps, but points that can be defended if they come under assault. Because right now, what the current meta is for a fob is you need to place it somewhere where you can get quickly to the attack or defense point that you're trying to use that fob for. So you want it close, but not in a like heavily trafficked area by the enemy team, so that they would probably find it. And you almost never build up on it unless it's a defensive fob that you would then use as like maybe, you're putting up some ammo resupplies, or you're putting up vehicle repair stations. Those sort of things are the only time you would really see a fob actually built up. I think now you'll end up seeing fobs that are actual bases, like they're putting the base in forward operating base, especially. And I think this is a big point. You can't hide fobs anymore. Yes, you can put your hab different from the radio, but everybody's going to see the hab. Like those are fairly conspicuous buildings. Looking at the pictures and looking at, the Russian and the US ones are made of HESCO walls. I have never been able to hide a HESCO wall, and there have like four or five of them as part of the hab unit.
Yeah, they're fairly large. I absolutely love that. It's just, again, it makes them an objective, which is nice.
Exactly. Which, well, I agree. I don't think it's a bad thing. But I wonder if it almost makes it so in the current meta, when you're searching to find a fob, you're not really camping fobs all that much until you found it, and you're just trying to get shovels on it to take it out. So really you're searching for the spawn point and trying to hit the spawn point. So there will be, I think, camping of these spawn points now while you have people going to look for the radio, because you won't be able to. Well, I assume you could unshovel a hab from the enemy team, but I think what you're going to be doing is having somebody try and get up high and watch the doors, and while the rest of your squad tries to find the radio that's within the 200 meters or 100 meters or whatever that fob radius is.
I'm just so glad that they're getting rid of the old fob meta of like, all right, drop the fob here, drop the ammo crate. That's how we're going to build. Let's go.
Right, and then off to the next objective or whatever the hell you're doing. It's they'll get built up more in I think I saw mentioned somewhere that there will be more super fobs, and yes, you're gonna see that more.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But at the same time, some of them aren't necessarily going to be as bad as old super fobs. Sometimes you have squad 2 sitting over there in the back, just super fobbing an objective that's uncappable or something like that. But I think if squad leaders learn where to place fobs and when halves and things like that are acceptable to place at a fob, you'll see super fobs that are much, I guess, more correct with the meta, or much more correct with the team's goals.
Oh, I completely agree with that. And I do like that. I think because you'll be seeing more things built up. I love repair stations and I love ammo crates. And it tends to be, well, we can put down an ammo crate and hide it in a bush because it's not conspicuous. But you don't see the vehicle repair stations placed down all that much.
So I want to touch on that real quick.
Go ahead.
Because there was something in the upcoming patch that mentioned that they're going to be limited to 2 per fob now, which I have seen games where you put down two repair stations and you get a crow on a hill and you can hit it with as many rockets as you want, but that thing is generally not going down. Now, that will be alleviated with the hat, but what do you guys still think about there being 2 repair stations per fob? Should that even be reduced down to 1, or is 2 fine? Because they do stack.
I mean, I don't think so. Even using 2, I think if you can still take down like a BTR that has 2 repair stations next to it. It takes a little bit more coordination than one guy having to reload his lat and fire again. Like you probably need 2 lats firing.
No, I've done it. I'm not saying it's not possible. So I still think 2 is fine. I was just wondering what you guys thought on 2 was. What I complained about it.
What I liked more about it is some things that I saw were people weren't building 2, they were building 5. And vehicles were coming back to repair. It was taking them 20 seconds and they were back in. I think what they're aiming to do here is less of the you can camp next to a vehicle repair station and never die, and they're trying to eliminate the I can run back to a repair station, get within radius of 5 of them at a time, and be back in the battle in 10 seconds at full health. I think that's more what they're trying to alleviate with that.
Oh, that makes sense.
But I, for one, I love vehicle repair stations, and I think they're criminally underused. And that's partially because a lot of people are dying before they can get back to a vehicle repair station. I think it's more of a vicious cycle because people aren't seeing them built, so they don't want to go all the way back to main to repair their vehicle, so they just stay in the fight. And then nobody builds vehicle repair stations because they know, nobody uses them anyways. So I think it's a vicious cycle right now. So maybe with this, fobs are things that are going to be built up, and we're going to see repair stations because you can't hide fobs anymore. I think we'll see a lot more vehicles lasting longer because they're actually going to go rearm, and they're not going to stay just until they die. So the driver and gunner can just respawn and go back to his squad.
Yeah, I enjoy these new vehicle repair station changes as well, because I remember I used to kind of abuse the fact that you could build multiple. You just park the BTR in a nice little place, build repair stations all around it, and you're pretty much invincible. So now with the limit to 2, I think it's going to be a lot more reasonable. And with these newer vehicles, I really hope that people don't just run the vehicles in suicide. I hope that and that's one thing I always thought about, the addition with the artillery on militia and insurgents, really made me start using repair stations, and then just building those repair stations for the indirect fire you can use for the other vehicles. So, oh no, I'm just waiting for more mortars and for more indirect fire because I'm addicted to it.
One day, Karma.
One day. Mortar trucks. Give me mortar truck. Just put a mortar on the striker, and there we go.
One more point that I had about the fobs and that sort of stuff is I think you'll see in some more organized play, like with some clans playing, maybe in like CCFN or NAS or Squad Masters and any sort of that stuff. I think you might see in an organized group, people, they may not use fobs as much. I think that you'll see more of a reliance on rally points, especially with the groups that have shown that they can have the medic discipline. I think they can transfer that over to a rally point discipline and making sure that their squad lead is always able to place a new one. I think that's kind of a leftover of maybe with the last few patches, the meta has always been speed, speed, speed. And with the changes to fobs, trying to get more towards a, have a pitch battle of we want like a firefight in an area to be sustained, not two squads hit into each other, one wipes the other and then keeps moving. They throw a rally point down, all their dead guys respawn and they just keep moving. So I think that there might be a little bit of an element of if these clans keep that mentality, or these organized groups keep that mentality of kind of the super fast, super mobile squad, if we might see some maybe meta breaking stuff, at least in vanilla, of like you've got a team that's playing trench warfare with their set fobs and everything like that. And then you've got a squad that's playing the blitzkrieg and they just run around the fob, take the point, and now the fob is useless because it's way out of position. Do you guys get what I'm saying with that?
Yeah,
or
with the mobile squads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just comes with the more experienced players have more game knowledge, I guess you could say. So they really like to abuse that, and the fact that they know usually where the other players will be, so they're able to maneuver a lot faster than other players. But I can completely see. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Schmitty, any thoughts?
I just feel like the Habs are going to slow down the gameplay a lot. Mainly because they have to protect them a lot more because these things are more inconspicuous or conspicuous.
Awesome. Should we move on to the next topic?
Yeah.
All right. One of the more interesting quality of life upgrades that we have here is a scoreboard. Creeping. What are your thoughts on the new scoreboard? I know they posted a picture in the patch preview. What are your thoughts on how that looks? Do you like that aesthetic? Do you like that kind of design and just the functionality as well? Not just the how it looks.
I'm a big fan of the new scoreboard. I definitely like how it looks. Something about it kind of it feels reminiscent of like the Project Reality look of when you bring up the scoreboard there. Obviously it looks like really fresh, really clean as compared to a Project Reality scoreboard. And it gives a lot of really, really good information. I think that a lot of it's going to affect the way certain players are treated at the end of a round or even during a round when you can look. And right now, because the only thing that's really tracked when the round ends is kills, deaths, and points. So being able to explain like, I had a really bad KD ratio, but I was a medic. And like, you can see, look at how many revives I had. Or, and then it's like, oh, you were important to the team. Like, I get it now, So I think that's a really big quality of life change. And I think it will help to get rid of a lot of the people that troll and grief other players over the way that they're playing because they'll see, you know, that terrible KD and think that, you know, that's it, because that's the only stats that were tracked previously.
So I'll give my opinion here real quick on it. It's a little bit different than creepings. First off, the functionality of it and like the information displayed is awesome. I love the density, honestly. I love the fact that I can see revives. I can see, I think, bandages, or how much healing points. So the revives, how much healing points, some kind of team score. It looks like some kind of objective score, but and this is, it looks like, based on the screenshot, and in game during the game screenshot, so not post game. But second, I like the fact that you don't get any information about the other team. You can see the other players, but you don't get anything about them. So you can't kind of see what they're doing or where they're at based on their score, which is really nice. You know,
you used to be able to really abuse the fact that you could see the other team's score.
Yes. Yep, you could
sure.
know where people were at and what they were doing based on kind of just based on the score alone. You know, you get the next map, which isn't awesome. So you get more information there. But I just wish they had some sort of like zebra striping or something on the names. I imagine that when there's a lot of numbers and stuff filled in there, it's kind of gets like dense and hard to see. It's just a preference. I like it. It's just aesthetically, it's great. It has tons of information. It's just not my favorite aesthetic. It needs just some sort of distinction between the names to me. You know, imagine that thing filled up with numbers, and it kind of gets hard to see whose numbers belong to what. But that's just my opinion on it.
I feel like it's going to get rid of the a lot of the, like Creeping said, a lot of the people who hash on like the medics or other vital importance of like the squad, because it's a team-based game. It's a team-based game, and it's not just about kills and deaths. It's always about the objective and grabbing the objective. Not, it's okay to have a negative KD if you're helping capture points or reviving people.
Yeah, that's what I love about squad, is that there's so many different roles aside from like standard just firefighting. There's so many different roles you can play as a individual that, you know, help indirectly.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
I think that there's a couple points to make though. Is that even with all of the new metrics that we're seeing here, I think that there's a couple that still feel like they're not there, that people could still get trolled or griefed about. Like the guy who goes, you know, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, who just ran Logi the whole game. You know, so he was never in a point to get any. He was never in a flag to get any points.
So
he never died. I know that there were supposed to be some metrics over.
No, let's just go based on the screenshot here. My assumption is if they do add that, and they were supposed to, as you were about to say, I believe, it would probably go under that middle category, that like kind of team score thing, because that's a team thing.
So I think because here's the thing. I don't see kills and deaths on here, and I think they want to leave that in the game. They want to leave that on the scoreboard. So I
believe that'd be a post game scoreboard thing only. Actually.
Oh yeah, you know, I'm sure you're right about that, because in game you wouldn't want to show how many kills you have. So
that'd be my best guess.
You're right.
They usually, because they have a different. Currently, they have a different in-game scoreboard and a post-game scoreboard. So I assume they would do the same thing with this new one as well.
Okay, yeah.
What if they contributed the kill deaths to like maybe the team score as well?
I have no clue how the team score works, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait.
It's a mystery in the current game as well.
Oh yeah, that system is pretty opaque right now. I'm sure that somebody has it figured out, and I just haven't seen it. But yeah, I don't understand how that system works. And we'll have to see the patch notes to know exactly what gets counted as scores and like what, you know, that sort of stuff. Exactly. But I think that you're right. Seeing like supplies being dropped in some sort of that team score that we're guessing that might be, or even somebody who I drove the BTR, and although he went 30-0, I didn't go. I went 0-0. You know, how does that guy?
Right.
I don't want to say that he has to be able to defend himself, because ultimately this is a game about like you knowing that you help the team, not being able to defend yourself when the trolls come out. But at the same time, like I'd like for that person to be able to point to something and say, no, I did help the team. The game recognizes that I helped the team, and it shows me that it knows that what I did was a good thing.
You know, I'm sure they've thought about those things and don't know how it functions. So we will have to see. I bet it's going to be interesting, though. Hopefully, people do get rewarded, because I agree with you. They absolutely deserve to be rewarded in some sort of fashion, whether it be tracked through some, just in the team score or whatever that is, or if it's tracked in its own column. Like even if it's, reward might be a bad word to use, but they deserve some sort of recognition at least for what they've done.
Awesome. I think that's pretty much all we want to do touching on the scoreboard. Pretty small change, but nonetheless, I think it's a pretty important change, especially something that hasn't been, really revamped in a while.
I actually have a comment on the scoreboard that'll affect ops. It's just a passing comment. Without enemy team intel or anything like that, it'll be interesting to see who's dead, because I know when we're running ops, you can always take a look and see, oh, hey, there's a -1. That guy must be dead. So less information is always fun too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely for ops, not being able to see, because I know like sometimes I check every now and then just to out of habit, and you're able to see like who's down and who's not based off that -1. But yeah, I think we'll move on here to the next topic here, which is a pretty big one. I think this is really important. Is the new map expansion, Scoredox being basically doubled in size, and then Yeeho is getting revamped as well.
Oh man, can I just say, like, I haven't played on Gordok, but it's now my favorite map. Like, as long as it's somewhat optimized and playable on my machine, like I just want to play around and run around on Gordok right now so bad.
You guys remember the vehicles we were talking about earlier? I mean, this is going to be a map that absolutely requires them. I mean, and it's going to require some sort of coordination. And actually, another thing, it's going to require every feature in this preview. It's going to require good fob and hab locations as well. I mean, it's because it's so spread out, you need to have good spawn points. So it's going to be a big change.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think the coordination is a really big point, because if you look at both of the Gorodoc layers that they've released, both of them are they have multiple forks. Like it's at least two paths going on flags. So it's not going to be my entire team is either attacking or defending these 2 points. There will always be at least 4 points in play. And you're going to need that sort of you're going to need that communication to be able to coordinate your team across the entire map, as some of these are spread out.
With how large the map is, you can get a squad up at a corner of the map fighting up there, and they're never going to see the battle that's raging in the far corner. But it's going to happen. I mean, you may play this map 4 times and be stuck in a squad that's always in the same like northern part, and it's going to be one of those maps that it's going to take a while till you explore all of it, especially if you're sticking with your squad and going and following them. It's gonna be interesting.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good like a point you bring up about never sometimes like not having seen an area of the map in quite a while. I think it's going to really help. I don't want to say that some of the gameplay can get kind of stale, but it's like I have fought in Neva Upper and Neva Lower so many times. Like I could run around that area with my eyes closed and know all of the routes to take to assault that both of those flags from like any direction. And now with the map getting so much bigger and having such a plethora of different flag areas that, you know, there's no way, like I'm gonna hit a new point every time, and I'm not gonna be familiar with everything as
squad leader's gonna have to learn the game all over again. I mean, it's just such a massive change from the old Gorodoc, and I know for performance reasons the old Gorodoc was not the most played map, but if this one performs well and you know, gets into rotation, it's going to be interesting for all squad leaders, because it's going to be different gameplay every single game. I mean, am I going to be a vehicle squad running some of the new vehicles? Am I going to take, you know, route A and put a hab up and defend, or am I going to be assaulting something on that route? Okay, maybe I'm going to go on the opposite route B this time. So I think squad leaders are going to get a lot more options, and it's going to make the game not more difficult for them, but a lot more dynamic.
Absolutely.
Well, we can talk about this a little bit. The previous layers of Goro, like Goro was already a pretty sizable map, but I feel like the flag layers didn't really do it justice. Like, you've kind of felt like you're playing on the same places on a really large map, and I think that one of the biggest changes that OWI is adding is the addition of Conquest. Now, we saw Conquest added last patch to OP First Light, and I really like how they're starting to add it to more layers.
I'm entirely in favor of Conquest. Some people don't like it. You know, some people are like, I hate Conquest. It just a cluster, you know, and I can't do that. But I really like it. It mixes up the base gameplay, and you kind of just get this all-out war feeling, because you can get enemies coming from anywhere.
Absolutely. It is chaotic. That's for sure. Especially, I mean, right now we've only really played Conquest on OP First Light, I believe, is the only map that has it. There was originally a kind of like almost like Conquest mode on Sumari, but this was like months ago, where I believe the US could capture insurgent flags in any order, but once they were captured, they couldn't be taken back. It was a weird mode. I kind of enjoyed it because of that chaotic.
That might be ITC, territory control, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't quite remember what it was called, but I really enjoyed it, and it was because you could. There was such a freedom of choice for the squad leads in determining, okay, I know this doesn't, like, I know this may be a long flank, I know, like, whatever, but we're going straight for their main. Like, the flag right next to their main, that's what we're going to hit first, because they're not going to be there, and, like, it's a really fun point to assault. And you could, like, nobody would ever get on you, like, the other squad leads wouldn't be like, you know, why aren't you defending this point? It's our only defense point. It would just be like, you know, whatever, no matter what you were doing, it was almost always a valid tactical decision to make.
As long as you were moving towards a point or defending a point that was being attacked, you were, in generally, always somebody was doing one of those things. So
yes, it allowed for a lot more free-flowing gameplay that didn't have to be quite as organized.
It's a lot more.
I think that works well.
I think.
Yes.
So it's, whereas in AAS, if you get a squad behind you and everybody leaves the defense point, which happens all the time, and I hate it, but everybody leaves the defense point, you get somebody on that point and get back capped. You're gonna get back capped until you're at your main. I mean, it's just almost inevitable. It's just people bound the points and you're done. So it's nice to play Conquest where you can kind of go to any point and still be helping, as you said.
All right. Should we talk about Yeeho?
Yeah, of course.
So I said this in my in my video, like I think 2 days ago, how I felt Yeeho was delivered. It was you know, you had that initial you had that initial release where it was, you know, an introduction to the map, and it was kind of open. It was really open. The map didn't have its villages yet, and then you had that one rework where there was a whole bunch of stuff added, like 3 different villages, a lot of different buildings, you know, farm fields and everything. So I really enjoy like how much and how different the maps feel after a pass, because it seems like that seems to be a common thing that happens is when they redo a map or when they release an update for a map, it's not just like they add one building and they just do a nice little passover. It's like a complete addition of, you know, a whole section of a map. They just feel like they completely changed the maps, and yeah, I just really appreciate that, rather than small like, oh yeah, we added a little car here and there's a water tower over here now.
Absolutely. I think it's great when they do these passes and they rework maps, and it can give it a huge, like a brand new feel. And I think it's important because maps can tend to get stale with the current number of maps that we have. It can feel like you're just rotating through the same maps, especially when some, like in V8, Gorodok tended to like server population would drop significantly when you came to Gorodok, because certain people were having those sort of performance issues on the map. But so what tended to happen is people were taking it out of server rotations or only having it once, or, you know, so you ended up playing on Sumari all the time. And, you know, you played on Yeeho occasionally, you played on certain maps way more often than others, and they can feel stale, but when they get reworked, it feels great playing on those maps again.
Well, what was the last map they reworked? Other than Yeeho?
I think it was either Sumari or Korra both got reworked around the same time.
Sumari or something. They expanded it. Well, either way, I always love it when they do. It's exciting to see these layers, not just them adding new structures and adding whole new areas of the map, like in Yeeho's example storage site, which looks awesome, and the airfield expansion. But I really like when they change the layers more than anything else, and that's exactly what we see. You know, you get these 2 new layers, and it changes. You know, for example, you're not going to be seeing that rush to West Petrifica anymore, or you may. It's, you know, that's the second point rush has to cap in the second layer, but you may see that rush, but they're probably not going to get there in time with the way the new layers are set up. So I really like how they changed it, and it'll change the overall. It may even change some of the rushing, just in general, in some of these maps, at least in this map specifically.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see how Yeeho plays now. I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with Yeeho since it came out. I've loved the fact that it's so open, and I love like some of the vehicle combat is some of the best vehicle combat in the game right now. Having like some the Humvees engaging BTRs at distance and like trying to wolf pack down the BTRs, and it was really engaging, really fun vehicle gameplay. One thing that always kind of rubbed me about Yeeho is that nothing really felt terribly unique.
I actually share that almost same opinion. Like
there was nothing. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say I kind of like it. So it's a very open map, and I like that. You know, it's very obviously very vehicle centric, or it's meant to be, or they're designing it in the future to be very vehicle centric, one way or another. But as you said, it just kind of had that feeling of I can't put my finger on it. There was just something very
something
bland about the map. It was very bland at times. Like it just, you're always fighting over the same spots, and a lot of the houses and things looked the same, and that may not change, but obviously with the addition of storage site, we're going to be seeing newer, more built up things, which is nice.
Absolutely. I think I think this may have been what you were trying to get to kind of point out, is that it lacked like unique buildings and unique areas. Like when you're fighting on when you're fighting on Sumari, everybody has memories of fighting at Palace. Everybody has memories of fighting at Mosque. You know, everybody has, like, most of these other maps that we're playing on have those unique buildings that you, although the rest of the map can be made up of the more generic stuff, fighting near or around or in those unique areas tend to be memorable in some way, I guess.
So that's actually a very good way to put it, because
Yeah.
if you look at the current map, the only kind of thing that you can think of that would be even somewhat memorable is, hey, there's those big warehouses on the airfield, and hey, there's that little, like, 1-story or 2-story building that people can be on top of, that white building.
The gas
Some
station.
people call the mall, or the gas station, yeah. But,
Yeah.
oh, and the gas station, that's another one, yeah. So there's a couple, but
Mhm.
there are really, as you said, there are really no memorable spots.
Yeah, like
Or
when
isn't much.
if I'm fighting in Yeeho, I'm fighting in a field surrounding the town, or I'm fighting in the generic houses in the town. Like, there's nothing that makes me remember where I am on the map other than bringing up my
That's a
map
very
and
good
looking
point.
at, I'm in Petrivka, or, you know, whereas anywhere, most of the other maps that we have, like, there are enough landmarks around you that you can know, like, you know, I'm at the southwest, or I'm in the southeast side of the map because I'm in Palace, like, or anything.
Right, or police station and stuff
Yeah,
like
or
that.
police station.
Yeah, that's a very good. It feels like the villages on Yeho are very cookie cutter, and I'm sure. I'm sure since it's like the most recent map to get released, they're gonna get, like, maybe we'll see that in this pass. You know, maybe we'll see like very unique areas, and different villages have different kind of flair to them. Maybe that's going to be in this patch, but definitely I completely see how, like, you can kind of just get lost in the repetitiveness of some of the buildings.
Absolutely. And I do understand, you know, this, I mean, like we said before, alpha game, these Eastern European assets are still being designed, and we just may not have enough of the Eastern European assets ready to go and in game that there can be those kind of unique areas that we're already seeing in the Middle Eastern theater, which has been under development for a much longer time than the Eastern European theater has.
Yes.
So I think with the addition of the new city map that the new urban Eastern European map that they've teased in like the January update, I think that we're going to be getting a lot more assets, like building assets in that update that will be able to make Yeeho feel unique and not feel like it's cookie cutter. So I absolutely think it's in the pipeline. I think it just isn't out yet, and I think that that may be what throws Yeeho over the edge into, like, this is an amazing map instead of being it has awesome elements.
I was about to say, it's funny you say pipeline, because I just went through the Yeeho showcase video, and that storage site does have a very nice pipeline running through it, and it's a very, very nice large complex.
Oh my goodness.
One thing they just put a pass through Yeeho, and they built this whole new section in storage site, and then they didn't include it in one of their layers. That had me kind of scratching my head. Like, I thought you'd want to show it off, and then in
they don't
Yeeho
have it
ASV2, it's not in there.
It's not in there. It's just kind of over to the side.
Yeah.
We'll put it this way: it leaves a good spot for flanking maneuvers. You get a squad over there that can easily hit North Novo from the west. A squad, on foot, it may be a bit much, but with the new vehicles, you get them in some cover, and you can hit North Novo from the west pretty well. So maybe it's good that it's not an objective there. We will see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, I think we are running up on the 1 hour mark here, so I think we'd like to close it off pretty soon here, unless anyone has anything they'd like to add. I think we'll end with, like, our predictions of when we think V9 will drop.
Whew.
Once again, this is completely just based off the information that we've been publicly given. What's your feel?
My feel. Who wants to go first?
I said in my video 2 days ago that I thought it was about 2 to 4 weeks out, 2 being the earliest we'd see it and 4 being the latest.
So you're
Wait.
saying
I think I
3
know what he's
weeks.
trying to say. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's what,
So 3 weeks. Just continuing that
God.
meme.
I
My
don't
gut
know,
says-
but
my gut
I
says 1
usually
to 2, but I have to say the obligatory 3 weeks as well.
Oh man.
Schmitty, what do you think?
I'm gonna say 2 to 2.5 weeks. Just considering that they already put out a preview for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
the
think it's like
preview
3
says it's close. Preview means it's close. I just
You-
don't know how close it is.
You guys have
One day
no
we
optimism.
will get V9.
You guys
it's
have
just like
no
Windows, though.
optimism.
No, it's just like Windows. They're skipping V9, going straight to 10.
You know what? I'm going with your. I'm piggybacking off of your one day. I think it's coming out tomorrow.
Oh God.
That's my call. We see.
I really hope it doesn't happen
tomorrow.
because then you're gonna be sage creeping.
We need more time. Delay it. That's what everybody wants. Just delay it.
Oh yeah. Thanks. Now
No,
we can all
don't delay
blame-
it. Just give it a
So
just
we
give
can
it-
blame Karma when it doesn't come out tomorrow because they heard him say delay it, right?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, you heard it here. Karma's fault.
Anyways, thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Creeping, Schmitty, Dr. Kamikaze. Thank you for coming out to the OpsCast. We're going to be bringing these back every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, for, the foreseeable future. In addition to these Tuesday streams, we also have our Saturday streams at 6 p.m. Pacific as well. And those are our high production value quality streams of the Squad Ops One Life events. We got multiple POV cameras, we got commentators. It's a great, unique way to experience Squad Ops from a spectator's perspective. So thank you so much for coming in. We hope you had a good time. We hope you learned some things, maybe got some, heard our impressions, and were able to come up with some of the your own conclusions. But yeah, I think this was a great way to jump back in the OpsCast. More to come, definitely. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Creeping, Kamikaze, and Schmitty again. And thank you all the viewers for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Karma.
Thank you.
Thank you.